Hello and welcome to the Addicts Anonymous podcast. I'm your host, Jim Rochelle. Today's episode 250, and we're going to be interviewing Yvonne. How are you doing this morning?
I'm blessed. Thank you very much, Jim. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. So let's dive in and get started. Like we were talking about before, let's start with your childhood and growing up.
So, my childhood, my family definitely took fun out of dysfunctional. Um, my real father, and this is just because I was told by my grandmother this story because I don't really remember it. I was only 6 months old, but he really did not want me to be like, he only wanted two children. He had his son first, his daughter second, and he didn't want any more children. He had his perfect family. And then he came home off the ship, and here I was. And
What was he in the Navy?
yes, and he in a rage threw me up against the wall when I was 6 months old, and I had to wear braces on my legs until I was 4 so I could walk. And my mom didn't leave him. She sent me to Elsinore with my grandma. Now, throughout my story, my grandma was my rock. Like, she was always there for me. She was my rock. She's the reason I have morals and manners. She's the reason I know anything about life. She just my rock. But so my mom finally left. I guess you would call him my sperm donor because that's all I really know him of. And she finally left him, and she got together with a Marine. And that Marine went to Vietnam. I didn't know that he wasn't my dad at all. Somehow I got back over to my mom's. And when he came back from Vietnam, he became a very abusive, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually abusive stepdad. So let me back up a little bit. When I was 5, I got sick, and they all went to the movies, and I stayed home with my mother's oldest son, my real father's son, and his best friend, because I was sick, and they molested me at 5 and took my virginity. So
did you tell anybody?
Pardon me?
Did you tell anybody?
Not at first. So I think I was like, I don't know, maybe 7, and I was sitting in the bathtub crying and thinking about it, and my sister came in, my oldest sister, and she said, "What's wrong with you, Yvonne?" And I said, "I don't know how to tell you this, and so I finally told her, and she goes, "Oh, I'm gonna kill him." And so, because they were like, Patty was 6 years older than me, and Rick was 7 years older than me. And so she went and told my mom. And what was weird was that my stepdad was there, and he contacted my Aunt Nelmy and my Uncle Larry, and they took him to a boys' home. And I thought that was really weird because shortly after that, Jerry was doing the same thing that Rick did. You know what I mean? And so fast forward to 9 years old. He came home and decided that he thought he had told me to bake a cake. And I said, "You didn't tell me to bake a cake, Daddy." And he freaking backhanded me, and my back hit the breadboard, and we both went down. And so I had to go to the hospital, and I was in traction. And he was a staff sergeant, and they loved him on Camp Pendleton. So I had MPs come and tell me that what happened to me was an accident. And I said, "Well, no accident. He freaking backhanded me." And they leaned over very roughly and told me, "I said it was an accident." And I was like, "Okay, it was an accident." And so finally at 10 years old, I went to, I think mainly it was because now that I think back about it and stuff, I was supposed to have my 10th birthday party, and my mom got a cake, and I got a sewing box and everything was all decorated and everything, but she wouldn't celebrate it because he wasn't home. And I went to sleep crying on my birthday because she wouldn't let me have my cake or anything because my dad didn't come home. And so I don't know, maybe within a month of that, I told my mom that what Jerry was doing, and she called me a lying little bitch. And so I went and called my grandma, and I told my grandma, Grandma, this is what's going on. And she goes, well, did you tell your mother that? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, what did she say? And I said, she called me a lying little bitch. And remember that my grandmother was my rock. And so she hung up on me on the phone. And I was like, what the hell? Like my grandma's not even help me, And so I went up in my room, and I had this little secret room, and it was kind of like a closet in my room, and it was a big room in my room. And so I went in there, and I friggin' grabbed my favorite doll and went in there and started crying. I was just bawling my eyeballs out. I remember feeling like literally abandoned, worthless, like hopeless, like all that, and about 45 minutes later, which should have taken my grandmother about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but she got there within an hour. She walked in my room. She goes, you got your shit packed? And I go, no. And she goes, get it that way. And then she went to the next room where my mom was, and I could hear them screaming at each other. And then I hear somebody get bitch slapped, and it wasn't my grandma. And then my grandma walked back in my room. She said, let's go. And so we loaded my stuff up in my grandma's car, and we went to my grandma's. And then I stayed with my grandma. My mom stayed with him for, I don't know, probably maybe 2.5 years later. She left him. And then she got together with her third husband, who I call my daddy. He was a good man, and even though he was a functional alcoholic, he was a very good man, and he loved me. He literally loved me unconditionally. The sad thing about that is that I was already doing drugs. They got together when I was like graduating from 6th grade, 13 years old.
What was the first age you ever used any type of drugs or alcohol?
10. I started drinking when I was 10.
Who introduced you to it?
My older sister.
Yeah. And you said she was like 6 years older than you.
Yeah. 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 She was like, she turns, well, she's deceased now, but like at one time she's almost 7 years, 7 years older than me, and he's almost 8 years older, depending on the time of the year.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah. So yeah, I started drinking when I was 10. Shortly after that, I started smoking marijuana.
How did it, real quick, going back, how did it feel the first time you ever drank?
Oh, it was wonderful. I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. I got caught, like somebody snitched on me to my grandma, and that was all bad. She seen us, my aunt seen us down at the Circle K, and she seen the beer in my hand, and so she made me feel really guilty for that, but it didn't make me stop. So, and then I started smoking marijuana. Shortly after that, eating acid. Then I got into angel dust and PCP.
At what ages was all these other things you were getting used to or getting into?
Definitely 12, 13 years old, smoking marijuana. Junior high. The angel dust was more like my freshman year. I actually got expelled from Elsinore High School because I was loaded on angel dust and beat the crap out of one of my teachers.
No, that's no good.
No, it wasn't. And so I'm lucky I didn't go to juvenile hall. And so I had to go to continuation school. And then I kind of OD'd at continuation school, and I got expelled from that school. And I just took my GED. So, but yeah. So 16 years old, I'm doing meth with my sister. Somebody when I was with my sister, asked me if I wanted to rush, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Intravenously using methamphetamine." And I looked at my sister and I said, "What do you think?" And she goes, "I don't give a fuck what you do." And out went my arm. Now that completely changed my life right there. Boom shot. I no longer thought about my childhood. I no longer was a little heavier than I normally am. I no longer felt I had energy from hell. I would clean my mom's house and she'd be all happy about it. My dad would be all happy about it. I wasn't going to school. I went to work. I got things done. Like, it was absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Until I stayed up for a month. And for the last 3 days of staying up for a month, I stayed in the bathroom and picked my face until it was unrecognizable. And I went to my mom and dad's place of employment and called my grandma, and again she ratted me out and called my mom and told her that she heard the overspeaker and that she thought I was at the casino. So my mom come walking in and she looked like she had seen a ghost. They put me to a lockdown facility, and I was there for 3 months. My dad would come and
What
visit
kind of
me.
lockdown facility? Psychiatric lockdown facility?
No, it was a drug program, but I'll tell you that everybody that was in there because their parents caught them smoking pot or drinking. There was nobody in there for methamphetamines except me, and definitely not anybody in there for slamming anything. So that made me feel like I stood out, like I was unique. I wish that, no, I'm not gonna say that. I regret going and seeing my sister a week after I got out. Because she offered me an issue, and I said, "Patty, I just got out of the freaking rehab." And she goes, "Well, what are you doing here then?" And I said, "To come see you. I love you. I missed you." And she goes, "Yvonne, it's really good." Off and running. Once again. I did
Sounds like your sister wasn't a great influence at that time.
No, she never was. Yeah, she never was. Yeah, she was a great influence to do drugs, not to do right. I have a step brother and sister, and there's no way that I would even allow them to do that, let alone offer it to them. But, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, for a long time, I held it against her. But it was my doing, and I got to own it. I could have just left and told her, "Fuck you." But I didn't. And I was 17 at the time, and I was back on it, throughout my life, I have done a lot of drugs, got in very abusive relationships. I had 3 daughters, and my first husband knocked me off the back of a truck, and I hit face first in the pavement when I was 25, doing about 25 miles an hour. And I lost 9 of my front teeth. And
why did he do that?
What?
Why did he do that?
Because he said he was leaving me. And I told him not to take the truck. And so I jumped on the back of the truck, and he tells me, "I'll get you off one way or another, bitch." And friggin' he popped the the gear and tried to haul ass. And when he did, I freaking lost grip and hit the street. And then he, come running back from the truck and said, "Oh my God, Yvonne, I'm so sorry. What have I done?" And carried me to the ambulance because it was right down the street. But yeah, he kind of really, and then he told my mom and the CHP that I was suicidal and tried to commit suicide because he was my ex-boyfriend, not my mommy didn't tell him that, but the cop, that he was my ex-boyfriend and I didn't handle him breaking up with me very well. They were going to take me to the psych ward. I'm like, "Dude, did you get his last name?" And he says, "Yeah, it was Puckett." And I said, "Yeah, well, look at my wristband. My last name's Puckett too. He's not my ex-boyfriend. He's my motherfucking soon-to-be ex-husband, And the cop just looked at me. He goes, "Well, we're going to go ahead and cancel admitting you into Corona psychiatric." I'm like, "That's a really good idea right now." My mom loved him. She absolutely loved him. He could do no wrong. In her eyes, he didn't do that to me. I did it to me. I tried to commit suicide. He convinced her that. One time she introduced me. This is my son and daughter-in-law. What? Oh, Yvonne. Yeah. It was a man thing with her. It was a man thing with her.
So when would you say that your use got really heavy?
16.
So real young.
Yeah, 16. And
So
I
it
didn't
became
stop
like a
till I was
daily
54.
activity.
Hmm?
I said it became like a daily activity.
Oh God, yes. Oh God. Oh yeah. Like, yeah. Yeah, definitely. My last run. Okay, so let's just fast forward. I was dating somebody that was a heroin addict, and I was like 41, and I was still doing my meth, and he told me, "Come here, lay down." And I said, "Dude, nope, not gonna happen. I'm too wired right now. Just go to sleep or do whatever, And he's like, "Come here." And I said, "Eric, I really can't lay down right now." And he's like, "I'm gonna help you." And I said, "I'm not gonna do any heroin, dude. I'm not gonna throw up to get high." And he goes, "I can show you how to do it without throwing up." And he did. And I laid down and like did that for 3 days. And the fourth day I had a habit of heroin. My methamphetamines weren't working in the morning. Like for the past 3 days, I had woke up in the morning, did an issue of meth. In the evening and in the night, I do a little bit of freaking heroin and go to sleep. And I did that for 3 days. And on the fourth day, my meth didn't work. And I was strung out on heroin. I stayed on heroin for almost 2 years. Robbed banks. Went to jail. Kicked heroin and methadone in jail. It was the worst thing I've ever been through. So I
What were you in jail for?
bank robbery.
How'd you rob the bank?
I was the getaway driver.
Okay.
And my heroin addict boyfriend, and he would go in with a note and then come get in the car and we'd take off. But the last one we got caught.
How much would you guys usually get?
The last one we got 5,000, but they got their money back. One time we got 700, and I wanted to go back and slap her. Like that was the one that I had went up to the window and dealt with it. But the most we ever got was 5. Not good money in it. It paid for our habit and the methadone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. Never kicked heroin again because I never did it again. But I was back to doing meth when I got out of jail, and I actually relapsed on alcohol. My little brother asked me if I wanted to have a glass of wine with dinner, and I was like, sure. And I had a glass of wine, and that glass turned into a bottle, and like 2 weeks later I was looking for a connection, found one. And so I went on a 13-year run The last 7 years of my using, it was every single day, every day. I would wake up, I'd smoke a little bit in a pipe so I could open my eyes and da 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 da, and then I'd go in the bathroom, mix me up an issue, and do an issue. Every single day. My oldest daughter would be sending me text messages telling me, Mom, another one died of a drug-induced brain aneurysm. And I was like, okay, don't worry, honey, I won't smoke it. Don't trip, I got you. Just, I had my grandson convinced that it was just a maintenance thing, and that I couldn't stop using it because I would be in too much pain. I would, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he was okay with that because he was living with me at the time. Like, all the things that we do, you know, that if we do say that we are doing what we're doing, we justify it, you know, and I justified it really well. And you know, I when I got clean, I had been in a 12-year relationship, and he was a narcissist, cheating, wannabe man, and I was head over heels in love with him. And I woke up one day and figured out that I couldn't do this anymore. Like, at the end, I really didn't want to breathe anymore. I had planned on, I couldn't commit suicide, but I had planned on running my car into a big rig. Because I really just didn't want to be on earth anymore. I was tired, and I didn't know how I was going to quit. And then my best friend from my childhood went into a coma from drinking, and she was down where I grew up, you know, Elsinore. And somebody got a hold of me and said, you know, if you want to see her, you better come down now, because she's not going to make it. And so I had already packed all my stuff, put it in storage. I was staying at my daughter's. She had helped me get clean off the meth. So I hadn't done any meth since November of 2016. And then the day that I went down to Elsinore to see my best friend, I had a couple of shots with my oldest daughter, and I drove down to Elsinore. And so that was December 16th, 2016. And December 17th is my clean date, and I've been clean and sober ever since. I actually ended up staying down in Elsinore. People that I used to get high with, and I mean, do a lot of drugs with, sell drugs for, that still sell drugs with, sell drugs to, they were all in recovery. And I was like, wow, you know, I mean, homeboys that I'd go riding with and hung out with because of my older sister, and you would think they'd either be dead or homeless or whatever, you know, were buying houses and had a career. And I was like, you did this in Elsinore? Like, wow, you know. I got ran out of Elsinore by a cop, so I got in serious trouble, and he wanted to kill me. But so that really saved my life. Like, I started going to meetings. About 6 months clean, I got really depressed. I was wondering, well, I just turned 55 at 6 months, and I said, you know, fuck, I've been doing this my entire life. Like, what's the use? Like, I wasn't feeling good. I just got over having shingles. Like, it was just, life was not doing really good. And so I went down for a week. I'd lay in bed and pour cat food in his bowl. If I had to go to the restroom, I'd fill up his water bowl. I didn't clean out his cat box. I didn't freaking get up and take a shower. I didn't get up to eat. I didn't do anything other than go pee and sleep and feed him. And so my homegirl came over and she said, what's going on with you? And I said, you know, April, just leave me alone. She said, no, I'm not going to leave you alone. You're going to get out of bed. Like, what's going on with you? And I just started crying. And so we went outside and I started praying. She said, you need to get in that book, you know? And I said, what book? And she goes, your workbook. You need to start working on your steps. And so I got up, I took a shower, I threw away the cat box and went and got a new one. I went and ate and cleaned up my room, and I pulled out that book and I started working on the steps, 183 questions is what step one is. And my life had definitely been unmanageable.
Is that
And
NA?
yeah, it's the NA workbook, And so I've done both AA and NA steps. But the first set was with NA. So I snapped out of that. I started going to meetings again. I started being of service. I got hooked up with area and was involved in activities, secretary of the area. Like I really started living in recovery and for me and learning about me, because I didn't know who I was. Like I started drinking when I was 10 years old. I started slamming dope when I was 16. I didn't want to be that scared little girl that I numbed all that pain with, and I really didn't know who I was. I didn't know anything about me. And that took a lot. Like the amends I had to make, and the fourth step that I did was oh my God, it was crazy. I blacked out and beat my youngest daughter up in a blackout. I had no idea other than that she had bruises on her face, and a fat lip. And I was just like, oh my God, what happened to your face? And she's like, you are what happened to my face, there throughout my life, and when I got clean, I didn't give up my kids. They were adults, when I didn't give up the house, I left it, me, my cat, and my car, and some clothes, and everything else was in storage. It was like, I gotta do something different, or I'm not going to make it. And so, I remember one day thinking about my life, and I'm like, one day I was 25, and the next thing I was 54, and I'm like, my God, where'd my life go? Where'd my kids' life go? Jesus Christ, my grandkids are having having children. Wow, where did it go? Well, it went in my arm. It went into being numb. It went into not feeling. It went into everything that I could do not to be Yvonne. That's what it did. And so both my great grandchildren are named after me. One's got my first name, one's got my middle name. So I must have done something right throughout my using years. I'm very close with my children, my two youngest, or my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter. The one that was kidnapped, not so much. Very close with my grandchildren, and my great grandchildren are the apple of my eye. Like even if we have good days and we have bad days, and when I are having a bad day, it seems like my granddaughter knows, because she'll send me this cute little Snapchat, and it's my Caden Vaughn saying, good morning, Maga, I love you, have a good day, and it's like, wow, so life's good. I started working when I was 10 months clean and sober, because way back in 2002, before I got strung out on heroin and robbed banks and all that stuff, I was going to be a drug counselor, and I went to Car Institute, and I never pursued it because I went back out. And so when I got clean, I was like, I can't live on SSI. I'm not used to living on that low of an income, because I always supplemented my income. And so Department of Rehabilitation said, well, we'll pay for your schooling. What do you want to be to get you off of SSI? And I was like, okay. So I did some advanced training and everything. And on the 13th of March, I'm certified KDOC 2. So I've been working in treatment since I was 10 months clean and sober. And so my higher power actually pays me to give back what was so freely given to me, which is just amazing.
So it's come full circle.
Pardon me?
I said it's come full circle.
Oh, it has, and then some. And then some. Yes. Yeah. I love my job. It's very rewarding. I mean, I just resigned from working at the methadone clinic. I worked there for 3.25 years, and went to a outpatient program, private insurance, and it's a lot less stressful. The hours are better. It's more money. Everybody's clean. I work with the ones that are in sober living. If they're not clean, they usually leave before I know it, so this was what my first week there, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love this. And I don't get up at 3:30 in the morning anymore. That is absolutely wonderful.
That's early.
Way too early. Yeah. So I loved my patients at the methadone clinic. It was very rough going through that last 2 weeks after I gave my notice. I loved my manager. I loved my coworkers. It was just a bigger and better opportunity that arose, and I felt that my higher power opened that door for me. So I usually listen to my higher power because it gets me in trouble if I don't.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're doing good nowadays.
I am. I have done my steps twice. I let go of a lot of stuff. My mom's passed away. I lost my dad years ago while I was still using. My sister is passed away. It's just me and my little brother and my little sister that's left. My uncle so when I went to my grandma's, she had moved to Long Beach, California, and when I got out of that program, I came to see her, and then I moved in with her, and years later. And so that duplex is in front, and I am renting the back apartment. And I'm here to tell you that when Cherish was maybe 4 years old, my uncle stood at the front porch over there, and said, "Get the F off my property, and don't you ever darken my door again." And I looked at him, and I looked at my Aunt Naomi, and she goes, "You heard what he said." And my Aunt Naomi and my Uncle Larry, if there was any normacy in my life when I was a kid, it was with my Uncle Larry and my Aunt Naomi. They would come down to Elsinore and pick me up, and I'd spend time with my cousins, and we ate dinner like a family. We went Christmas caroling. We did family stuff. That did not happen in my family, in my immediate family. And so my grandma tried her best, but she was my grandma, and my aunt and uncle, that was the normacy of my life. And so here I am, 6.25 years clean, and I'm on that same property, but in apartment, and he fixed it all up for me. He's just been really there for me, and tells me, let bygones be bygones, and I'm really proud of you for turning your life around. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Uncle Larry. So I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed.
That's good. I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
you're doing so well.
I am.
You got quite the story.
I do. And that was just what I mean? It was just the bare minimum of it, because like I said, I always got into abusive relationships, extremely abusive. I've almost been killed twice they love me. But they love me. They love me. Yeah, because I would stay because they loved me. And so now I get to help women understand that they don't love you. If they're doing that to you, they really truly don't love you.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
No. So
it seems like we're getting towards the end here. Did you have anything else you wanted to chat about? Anything else you wanted to throw in?
Do you have any other questions?
No, my last question would be, do you have any advice for people watching and listening?
Don't wait until you're 54. And I literally say that because I wish I hadn't, because now I'm clean and sober. I'm feeling great. I want to ride my motorcycle all the time. You know what I mean? Don't wait until you're 54, because literally one day you're 25 and the next day you're 54 and you're wondering what the hell happened to your life. And the only way I was able to get clean this time is by surrendering and telling my higher power, have my back, dude. And I give you my word, I will not use or drink for the next 24 hours. And that's how I got clean. I didn't go into a rehab. I don't go to meetings a lot, once in a great while I'll go to meetings, but I work in recovery. I meditate. I'm really close with my higher power. I have a sponsor, but she doesn't live in California any longer. So if I'm really struggling, I'll call her. Just was on the phone with her this morning, and I stop before I react now. Feelings are valid, but we don't have to react on them. We can feel them, because that's why we all get high. It's because our feelings got hurt, or our feeling, we couldn't handle our feelings. We wanted to numb them, And I don't want to numb them anymore. I get through the feelings and move on, journal. But surrender. Because I wish I had been told a long time ago, you got to want to stay clean and sober more than you want to get high or drunk.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. You have to
Ain't
want
that the truth?
Right?
Yeah.
Next time you think you're going to go to the Connects, do I really want to do that? No, I really want to stay clean and sober more than I want to get drunk or high. There's days that I think, oh my God, because, I just moved and I think, shoot, I got a lot of shit to do. I'd love to have a friggin' issue, but do I really want to go down that lifestyle again? Hell to the F no. So I'd rather stay clean and sober and eventually get it done than go get an issue and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today.
I want to thank you for asking me. I really appreciate it. It was my honor.
Did you have a good time?
Pardon me?
Did you have a good time? Was it nice?
I did. It was rewarding. Like it was, because now I can say things without crying. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I didn't used to be able to do that. Like, when I said that it was in a blackout and beat up my youngest daughter, I couldn't say that in the beginning without crying, because it was painful. But I know that she's forgiven me, and most important, have forgiven myself for the actions.
Yeah.
In fact, she told me not too long ago that she forgave me a long time ago for her, and now she's forgiven me for me. So don't make amends before you're ready to, because then they're just empty I'm sorry's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
All right, then. So let's wrap it up here. Do me a favor and hang tight for a minute. Gonna
Okay.
do a little sales pitch for us. So if you like what you saw and heard, go below and give us a like. Also subscribe to see when we upload new videos. You can check us out on all social media. We're on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, you name it. We're most likely on it. I also suggest checking out our website, which is www.addicts-anonymous.com. There you find plenty of free resources as well as free literature. And also Addicts Anonymous has a book coming out. I'm not even going to talk about the release date because it keeps getting pushed back a little bit, but I will keep you posted on that. And that's all we have for today. So I really hope you enjoyed it. And until next time.
I'm looking forward to that book.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.